Welcome back to Daily Crypto News. I'm back with another Project 101 session. I love to dig into new projects launched or not yet launched, or TGE or pre TGE. I love talking to the founders. And today I have a very interesting project that I actually featured also in Daily Crypto News in Korea. And today we're going to do a quick 101 session for Pulse Markets. And Pulse Markets is on on-chain TikTok. I think that is a very ambitious title, but essentially an on-chain social media. That's at least how I will define it. And on Pulse, every post is tokenized and users can buy and sell copies of the posts. Creators can also earn royalties on all transactions. So you guys know that I have been looking for the next generation on-chain social media. So here we go. Welcome, Pulse intern. Welcome to Daily Crypto News. Say hello.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having us.
Cool. So I got into this alpha test group, closed alpha test group. So I have been very much enjoying the app. But for those who doesn't know just yet about Pulse Markets, please share the introduction of Pulse Markets.
Sure. Yeah. So I think you basically nailed it. Visually, it's TikTok with tokens, right? But what that really means is every single post has a price, and that price changes as there's more or less demand
Mm.
for the video because someone thinks that that post will go viral. And so, as more people buy copies of a video, it pushes up the price, which pushes the video up in the search and discovery process. And
Right.
so, the whole idea here is adding a financial market behind social media virality consumption, and then allowing that financial market to drive what we currently only know through sort of black box search algorithms. So
Right.
if you knew with 100% certainty, that the market is pricing this video and that's why you're seeing it, then you have a lot less uncertainty about why you're seeing videos you're seeing.
Right.
And this also enables content creators to actually make money directly from the content that they're creating, the value that they're putting out into the world. So content creators take a transaction fee on the buys and sells. And so if a video goes viral, and there's a lot of trading around that copy, then the content creator gets paid directly, as opposed to the current design in Web2 social media where content creators get often, tens of millions to hundreds of millions of views, but don't
Mm.
necessarily monetize from that video directly.
Yeah. I really do have a lot of potential catalysts that could push Pulse Markets, but I won't go deep in there just yet. But if I could give like keywords, I think there could be some elements of VR because I've seen the alpha environment. And also, there could be some sort of AI engine that could be plugged in. It's just all my imagination, but I could kind of associate that function coming into the Pulse market maybe down the road. And the virality game is something that I was very fascinated by because if you think about the current system or the structure of social media and creator creating contents, it's really only up to the creators to make the post go viral. But at the end of the day, if the people who are sharing those posts, if the creators don't have it, then you wouldn't have that virality of your post. So in that sense, it's kind of connecting those two. So I wanted to know how you come up with that idea that you can copy the post and you can sell the copies of the post, all that mastermind behind it.
Yeah, so the posts themselves, each post exists on a bonding curve, so similar to how FriendTech works.
Right.
Um, that way, you always have a counterparty to buy or sell for every post, right? So you don't
Mm.
have to worry about finding liquidity, which I think is one of the challenges of tokenizing content that other marketplaces have faced, like
Mm.
OpenSea, Sound.xyz. Why have these businesses largely been struggled to find like lasting success? I think in large part it's because there's no permanent liquidity. So you always hear this with, in the context of NFTs. NFTs have very little liquidity, and that makes it much harder for NFTs to trade consistently, and then people lose interest in them.
Right.
But I think like big picture, the idea here is that in existing Web 2 media platforms today, you have tremendous value leakage, and you can solve that. You can create a market that allows people to capture 100% of the value they create.
Right.
And when you think about what's happened at the start of 2024 so far, has been really the meme coin season, right? And you if you rebrand all tokens as meme coins, then they actually make much more sense as thinking about them as content than they do as a business, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So like throughout the history of crypto, there's always been this, this friction between what we think of as tokens, which the best comp historically has been stocks, right?
Right.
So people always think, oh, it's a stock, and so therefore it needs to have cash flows. But actually, tokens never have done a good job of capturing cash flows. They don't trade on cash flows. They really trade around narratives.
Right.
Meme coins are just the distilled version of this, where we're now saying, okay, we don't care about cash flows. We are purely trading on this thing driving more interest and adoption and awareness tomorrow than it does today. Right? Why is someone buying like Pepe token? They're not buying it for the future cash flows that it's going to generate, right? They're buying it because they think tomorrow more people will know about it and buy it than they did today.
Yeah, it will go viral, right?
It will go viral. And so then you say, okay, well, if all we're trading is virality, then what goes the most viral today?
Right.
And video content goes far more viral than, a picture of a token, right? Like it's not a totally fair comparison, but if you were to go and try to add up all of the social media impressions of major meme coins today,
right,
they're dwarfed by even the most medium virality TikTok videos, right? And so if everything has a price because every piece of content exists with a price, then we can start to just say, these impressions are all worth some consistent dollar amount. And we now have basically a marketplace for impressions where I can say, okay, this video has 100 million impressions, therefore fair market value is X, right?
Yeah.
And that just will be consistent across every piece of content that exists.
Then can I understand that these posts will be on chain and will be able to transact on chain as a format of NFT? Or is there any other format that you're implementing?
The best comparison is Friendtech. So it's not like an NFT or an ERC20. It's just a ledger on the contract. So with Friendtech, if you're the first buyer of a key, you're minting key number 1.
Yes.
The second buyer mints key number 2, and so on. And then when they sell them, they're just burning those keys. And so the counterparty to every trade is the money that's been deposited into the contract. So you always have a counterparty. Even if you're selling the very last copy, there's a price that you can sell it at.
Right. And how would you define the best for the role of Pulse Markets? Would it be like marketplace, or would it be more like DEX? How would you define it the best?
Yeah, I think go to market and early months and years of the life cycle will likely be heavily focused on the trading and financial aspect, because that's the unique edge here as compared to TikTok, right? But I think big picture, ideally this is something that people go to consume the best content, because the thesis is that if you can pay creators based on the value, directly based on the value they create, and your consumers enjoy buying copies and trading these videos and pushing their price up and down and doing a lot of volume, then the creators will make a lot of money. And if the creators make a lot of money here, then this will be the highest incentive market for them to participate in. And if that's true, then you should have really great content that you have a really, really clear market price. And so if that, market turns out to be efficient, then I would come here to consume content, even if I never bought anything, just because it should give me the most current, most relevant information, content, ideas, as quickly as possible.
I could imagine some content, some posts will actually last almost forever, regardless of the virality of the current situation, because some posts are almost in a history, and people log it in the sense that, okay, there was that time that somebody bought this. Like, for example, on Twitter, every post, unless the writer didn't delete it, it's there, and then that could be like a proof of, hey, I said this. Let's say, okay, I predicted the price at last year that it will go something something, and I was right, or something like that. And do you see that that could also happen on Pulse Market, where the price never, the virality would never really lose any value for some posts?
Yeah, so I think there will be different types of content that have different lifespans, and then also within kind of one piece of content's lifespan, they might have 3 or 4 different cycles. So one example would be like Justin Bieber's first YouTube video, right? So if you were to say that video was posted on Pulse, and he's an up and coming artist, and so right when he posts it, some people might buy and sell and trade on that post, because they say, hey, this guy is really talented, and we think this video will go viral.
Yeah.
But then as that content creator progresses in their career and they become more and more famous, then that first post becomes almost like this cultural artifact, right?
Yeah.
So now, 10 years later, what is the value of Justin Bieber's first YouTube post? It's probably dramatically higher. And this happens with meme coins, as well. Like, there were, for any of these meme coins that have reached tremendous escape velocity and are now trading at, north of $1 billion, there's probably been at least 3 or 4 cycles where they've run up multiples of previous all-time highs and then traded off 80%.
Right.
And so I think what we'll see with this is you'll probably have, and this is the best part about, trading content, is like, it's evergreen, meaning there's every single day, there's a new game to be played. There's a new, post that's going to be posted. And so you'll probably have people that'll trade, things every single day. And then some people that will want to buy stuff and hold it for a really long time. And hopefully that will also kind of represent the actual value and awareness of that piece of content in its life cycle as well.
It will be really fun to see. One of the fascinating part for me, at least on the Pulse markets, is that even though we can see the value of certain content through impression and likes and comments and stuff like that, but it could be rigged. You can buy likes, you can buy comments, you can buy retweets. But if we can actually put a price to it, then it has way more impact than just how many view counts or how many retweets that it got. And it kind of embeds a different aspects and different layers of the value of that content. So that is the exciting part of Pulse Market, in my opinion. But coming back to building this product, what was the biggest challenge so far? I feel like it must be, you must have a vision, almost like an end goal, but also you have a starting point. So to get there, I think it might be very, very hard. So I want to know how the journey has been so far.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you were just talking about for a second too. I think the beauty of having a market associated with the content that's transparent is, if you want to self-promote or advertise, you can do that, right? But the difference between this and TikTok or Twitter is you're not paying behind the scenes. Like, you're not, a brand deal that's sneakily getting an influencer to share something, right? If they want their post to be high up in the list and high up in the search, they have to literally just push it up in price themselves.
Yeah.
And so everyone's on an equal playing field, right? And that's totally transparent. It's all just on the blockchain, which is cool. And yeah, as far as like the journey so far, I would say we're in our larva state. I mean, we're like in the very, very, very beginning of this.
Yeah.
But the challenge will be onboarding creators and on getting interesting content on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I think about it is you basically have two levers to pull when it comes to attracting people to use your platform.
Yep.
One is reducing friction, and two is incentives.
Okay.
A lot of platforms will try to use like APIs and integrate with other social media platforms so that the friction is much lower to attract that person, which is great, but that's not, again, like really where we're competing. I think we compete primarily on the incentive side. So we can attract creators because the economics are far greater than the economics that you could get, posting on TikTok. Just for comparison, like if you posted on TikTok and you had 10 million views, you'll probably make $50 max from TikTok. Now you might, grow that account and eventually get brand deals and so on. But the problem is that your path to monetization requires second and third degree separation from what you're actually doing, right? The value you're creating is whatever the content you're creating that your fans, your consumers like. Now, in order for you to monetize that, you have to go and get a brand deal and possibly change your messaging to match what, an advertiser wants you to say, and maybe lose, trust of your fans and your creators.
Right.
So if you can just have that loop closed, then I can just monetize directly from the creators and from the consumers, and the consumers get to participate in that upside.
Right.
If I go on to be great, they get to participate in that upside as well.
I have a technical question. So if the post is kind of minted as a leisure, like you mentioned, just like Friend Tech, and then once it's sold, that key is going to be burned per se, then how would the royalty structure works? How can the first creator would get the royalty?
So I buy a copy. I pay $10, and like 1 cent goes to the creator.
Okay. What?
And then I burn a copy and I make $10, and another 1 cent goes to the creator. I'm sorry, 10 cents. It's 1%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will just go on and on and on.
Yep. So for every trade, every buy and every sell, the creator takes 1%.
The original creator or the creator of the copy?
The original creator, yeah.
Okay.
So you're not, when you're selling a copy that you purchased, you're not selling it to anyone else.
Yep.
You're just burning it, and you're taking money out of the contract. So the contract is a counterparty for every single trade, and that way you always have liquidity. So you don't have the problem that NFTs have,
right?
Where if you minted some NFT and then you want to sell it 6 months later, you might just not have a buyer, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, there's always a price and there's always a counterparty, which is just the contract. And if other people think that that's a cheap price, then they can mint more copies and push up the marginal price.
Going back to that incentive system that Pulse Markets maybe have an upside on, are you referring to the Pulse Box?
I was just saying that the content creator and content consumer, like if I mint a bunch of copies of a post and then that post goes viral, then I might, make money from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How, by the way, in terms of a closed alpha, how is it going? How many participants? How is the activities going? Could you share some sneak peek on it? I guess I'm also included, but yeah.
Yeah. So you are one of, I think, about 250 users in the last week.
Okay.
We've done about 1,500 trades, and there's been about 100 videos uploaded. And all of this is off chain right now.
Yep.
So we really wanted to do this as simply as possible, so that we could push out feature updates with user feedback more quickly.
Yep.
And then the phasing from here will be launching onto testnet and then deploying to mainnet, probably testnet in a month and mainnet maybe a month after that or so.
Okay, that's a very quick roadmap. 1 month. I guess anyways you launched When was that you launched? It's end of May, right? For the alpha
Yep.
close test. Okay. Okay. That's very quick. But I would like to also say that this incentive and behavioral science related crypto project, I guess, like recipe of typical crypto projects, I feel a little tired. And but just giving something that the project wants, which is the certain user behavior, and then get incentive, and then hoping for that incentive or certain points, the point phi will become something that I could cash out. So I wonder if there is any other mechanism behind this kind of structure that you already built.
Yeah. So I agree 100% with you. And my biggest qualm with the current attempts at
Mm,
SocialFi is they all tokenize the creator
right.
themselves. So if you think about friend tech, those keys, it's basically equity in the
Mm-hmm.
creator. Fantasy Top is another one. You're buying the cards which represent your share of that creator's
Mm-hmm.
income. Dracula is another one. You get a creator token. So here's the problem with these designs: is it's the reason people do it is that it's a much easier shelling
Mm,
point where I can just quickly and easily connect. This is the person I'm buying exposure to, and I get that, and I can quickly make that
mm,
decision. The problem is that selling equity is just a very, very expensive way to finance
mm,
anything. It's the most expensive way to finance anything. So what happens? The creator gets some upfront amount of
right.
money for people buying their creator
Mm,
token. Now they have effectively a board of directors, which is 1,000 random people on the internet who expect that creator to continue to deliver value for
right.
them to help push up the value of their
Yep.
token. It will be impossible for the creator to ever meet those expectations, those hype
Mm-hmm.
expectations. So creator underperforms, token price falls, and then you have sort of this vicious spiral of everyone mad at each
Yep.
other. Creators like defensive, consumers are mad because the price of their token is down, and you can see this play
Mm,
out in the volumes and usage of these
mm-hmm.
platforms. So Friendtech had this big explosion and then kind of withered away.
Mm,
This happens across all of them, and it's just because you can only sell equity
yep.
once, right? And then at that point, it's done. And so that's why we wanted to reorganize around the content
Mm-hmm.
itself, as opposed to selling, access to a creator that looks like equity. Your behavior that you're buying into is really all around the actual content
Mm,
itself. And so that creator can continuously create new content, and you can continuously, buy and sell that and expect that to go viral or not go
mm-hmm.
viral. And so by separating the creator from one degree removed from the consumer's buying
Mm-hmm.
behavior, then we have something that's more sustainable. So now maybe someone who's more famous will have a higher kind of floor price, let's say, for one new piece of content that they
Yep.
post. But even still, at the end of the day, you're still buying that one piece of
Mm-hmm.
content and expecting that one piece of content will have some price movement as opposed to the
Right.
creator. And my hope is that is solves some of that fatigue that people feel of chasing these things that are never
Mm-hmm.
sustainable. Like the idea here is that this actually is
Mm-hmm.
sustainable because you're not buying the creator, you're buying the
Yeah.
content.
Yeah. I get that. I think you got that point really, really correct. Now my next question is maybe it's a little too early, but still, would do you have a plan for TGE or maybe investment round, or have you already raised? Yeah, the business wise, how Pulse Market is
Yeah, so
performing.
we're pretty experienced in the space, and I think one of the challenges within this space is raising money before maybe you've really connected with your user base.
Exactly. Mm.
It's not so expensive to deploy kind of these MVP level of products. I mean, you've been very gracious, but I think our closed alpha is pretty duct tape and it's an MVP,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But the idea is deploy that MVP and get real user
Uh-huh.
feedback first, as opposed to go and chase a big funding round or something like that.
Yep.
So that's really where we want to focus on is spending time with user feedback and iterating on the
Mm-hmm.
product. And then when it comes time to raise money, then we can do that.
Yep.
But it's probably we want to spend at least another couple of months before we do
Okay.
that.
Okay. How how long did it take to make this MVP?
It's taken us about a month.
Okay. I think it's very impressive. It's you're being humble, but it was the whole experience was very smooth. I mean, there is always so many things to improve, but as an MVP and to be not too embarrassing to put it out there, even as a closed alpha, it was very smooth. I did not even encounter one error. I should probably explore more, but I got the point. I got the point of the product, which was more than enough, and I'm curious to know more. And I could imagine upon what you already have, which is, I think, as a product owner, what you need. I believe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, it has been a pleasure, and I would love to help people find you and Pulse Markets more often. And obviously we'll post this as a podcast and YouTube and everywhere. But where will be the best place for people to find Pulse Markets?
At underscore Pulse Markets on Twitter, at Pulse Markets on Warpcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
People can just DM us on either of those platforms. We can give access codes to the closed alpha, and we'll keep posting updates on how things are going, most likely on those channels. And then we have Telegram chat for users and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Yep. I have been a product owner in the past, and I know how painful it is to create an MVP, but all investors say that you just have to get the product out there, and then they want to see the users. So I believe that you are on the right path, and I wish all the best.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for the time,
No
Sarah. This has
problem.
been
No
great.
problem. All right. That's all for today. And I'll come back with another Project 101, and make sure to visit Pulse Markets, and see you next time. Bye bye.